It's time to shine with Kendall Denise, transformational life coach, author, and speaker. This is a show where the spotlight shines on people, topics, and subjects that are honest, real, and relevant to you. Be ready to be educated, elevated, and entertained. Here's your host, Lady Motivator herself, Kendall Denise. Hello, and good evening. Welcome to Shine. Thank you for shining with me, everybody. If this is your first time tuning in to Shine, welcome. I'm here every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope everyone had an amazing week thus far. It is Wednesday, as usual, hump day, dead smack in the middle of the week to bring you some positivity and encouragement to carry you through the rest of the week, and hopefully until we meet again next Wednesday. I have my sidekick sitting in here with me today.
Hey,
Darryl is here once again. I know y'all love when Darryl comes on the show. He said he's my Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson.
yeah.
He wants to just chime in and say a little bit here and there. So we have a show today, and I'm shining my spotlight on pushing through. Pushing through life's difficult times. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And we're going to talk about that because a lot of people don't know how to push through. A lot of people don't know how to make it through. And that's what I want to encourage everybody with today. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to get into the show. Be right back. Are you stuck in an unhappy relationship or a dead-end job? Are you having difficulty moving to the next level in life? Are you looking for love or romance? Are you looking to achieve and accomplish your goals? Are you looking to get more clarity on your vision? Do you struggle with self-esteem? Are you looking for insight, trying to figure out what you're trying to do with your life? These are some of the things I can help you with. Hi, my name is Kendall Denise, and I'm a certified transformational life coach. For more information about my life coaching services, please visit livingtruelivingyou.com. Now back to the show. All right, it's time for this week's Life Note. All right, and we're back. This life note is, let me just explain if this is your first time tuning in. A life note is a quote or a saying that will fall right in line with today's topic. It's a quote that can carry you possibly through the rest of the show or the rest of your life, depending on what you get out of it. So, the life note today is by Ron Rash. I have come to understand the world will have its way with us, despite what we might wish or once believed. So the life note again is, I have come to understand the world will have its way with us, despite what we might wish or once believed. So again, our show is all about pushing through life's difficult times. If you live this life, you will experience difficult times. It's not about if, it's about when. Not that you should be expecting it, but you should be prepared. Unfortunately, many are having trouble pushing through the hard times. Some don't even know where to begin. The walls are closing in on them. I know you've probably felt like that before. We all have a time or two. There are so many people who cannot take another thing. Nothing else could be added to that plate because the plate is already full. If you add one more thing, they really just might explode. Tonight, I just wanted to talk a bit about getting through the hard times and pushing through. As a life coach and a person who has walked this earth, I understand and may not have the golden answer to get you through, but I have some help, and Darryl will be joining me tonight. He's a coach as well as a human being that has had to push through on many occasions as well. Everybody's had to push through a time or through. Am I right?
Surely.
So welcome to the show, sidekick.
All right. Glad to be here, First Lady.
So you can chime in when you want to chime in. But I don't want this show to be a depressing show, but I want this show to be a positive show, a positive way to help you push through life's challenges. It's important that we know how to push through and really discover and realize how resilient we are as people. We were born tough. Just getting through that whole process of life and childbirth and getting here and the sperm, with the egg, the whole process of just life forming. We're strong. We're all resilient. And sometimes we don't know our own strength and what we could really push through until we actually have to push through. So I just want to start. Again, I don't want this to be a doom and gloom show. I want it to be the light at the end of the tunnel. A little rainbow after a rainstorm. So I just want to start by talking about suicide rates in the U.S. They have been rising in nearly every state in the United States. In 2016, nearly 45,000 Americans aged 10 and older died in suicide. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death and is one of the 3 leading causes that are not that are on the rise, I should say, outside of mental illness. So a lot of people say, okay, people kill themselves because they're mentally ill, something is wrong. But not just that. That's not what the statistics say. This is because they don't want to deal with today or tomorrow. People just don't want to face their tomorrow, and they're trying to get through their day. It's difficult to deal with life, money, jobs, relationships, health problems, housing, stress, and more and more and more. If you live life, you know some of the things that you have to deal with. A lot of people struggle with their finances. A lot of people struggle with their marriages, their friendship, family issues, having a mother, not having a mother, having a father, not having, health issues. So, as of 2018, though, the rates still continue to rise. And that was last year. Of course, we can't get this year's statistics because this year is not over. But people are really trying to cope with life. What do you think about those stats when it comes to suicide?
Staggering. Just thinking about that, there are people who are going through, and that's why we always have to be sympathetic and understanding to all people, and a lot of time we all wear masks, we're masking situations, but if you need help, ask for help, and I think that's one of the keys too in getting around some people who are supportive and encouraging and full of faith as well as optimism, and can give you some directions and instructions on especially if they've been there before, how you can too come through. I think that's important, and to be able to see the rainbow at the end of the tunnel is important.
Right. And a lot of people, and that's the thing, a lot of people don't see the rainbow because they can't see past their circumstances of that day or of their yesterday. So when you tell people, oh yeah, it's going to get better, things are going to change, things are going to look up, unless they can see some evidence of that, and even though the evidence, of course, that's faith, we know, but unless they can see some concrete evidence, they're not going to believe you. Everybody, listeners, when you've gone through something and something is so painful, or you're dealing with something that is beyond your control, you don't know what to do. Like sometimes it's easier said than done, because when it's happening to you, you think your whole world is crushing or crashing, coming to an end. And everybody has their breaking point. Everybody has their plate of full food, but one thing that might break you won't break me. One thing that might break me, may not break you or someone else listening. Everyone has their breaking point. I am a certified life coach. I have a degree in human services as well. I am a professional helper, but I am not a therapist. So I just want to make that clear. Since I am not a therapist, I want to share tips from a therapist via psychcentral.com. There's 14 ways to get through tough times. So this clinical psychologist came up with this list. Her younger sister died of cancer when she was 8 years old. And in 2007, another sister of her sister's and her sister's husband died within 2 months of each other. At that time, she was several weeks from giving birth to her fourth child. Almost overnight, she inherited her nephews and became a mom of 6. So she was overwhelmed with life. This is the therapist as well as her living life. And that's what I was talking about earlier. So sometimes, a lot of people have that. I know a lot of people, and we've had it in my family too, where one person dies and the next person dies and the next person dies, or something happens and you're like, can we catch a break? Or a friend passes away. So even though we're professionals, and this therapist, Margarita Tartovsky, I know I said her name wrong, but she is a clinical clinical therapist, a clinical let me just make sure she's a therapist and a clinical psychologist. But even her being that, she's a human being, and so are we. And when we deal with certain things, people think because you have this enlightenment or because you have this faith or the spiritual background that you don't go through things,
right, or that you're exempt. From problems
right?
And situations, but you're not. The rain falls on the just and the unjust.
Right. Right. And I think that some people look at other people's lives and think, okay, well, they can't possibly be going through anything because they're smiling or because they're happy. And sometimes you do have to smile through it, and you have to,
absolutely.
Life is no joke. Tracy Morgan said on the show, and I often quote this, and in my upcoming book, I even talk about this, when he said, life has teeth and it bites. And it's so true. Yeah. Like, you don't know what life is going to throw your way, and you don't know how prepared you are until you actually have to deal with whatever. So on this list, 14 ways to get through tough times. Number 1 is acknowledge and feel your feelings. Not always talk about that. It's so important. Avoiding your negative emotion may feel like an effective stopgap measure, but in fact, it simply postpones and perhaps escalates the flood of negative emotions sometimes in the future. Because people try to stuff it down. And try to play like nothing is going on. Right. And they think if they don't talk about it or address it, then it goes away or it's non-existing. Right. Have you ever done that?
It's like kicking a can down the road.
Yeah, knowing that eventually, you know.
Because you can't conquer what you don't confront. So,
right.
And you'll never conquer it if you don't confront those things, and realize that sometimes you can't change the situation, or you're not in control of the situation in some cases, but you can change how you react or your perspective about it.
Because it's 10% of what happened, and 80% of how you react to it. Ignoring your emotions is like trying to run away from something that's right on your shoulder. The only way to truly be free is to stop and face your emotions. I don't have no problems facing my emotions. I think it's important. I will, my emotions, whatever it is, I'm going to get it out. I'm going to express
it. That's good too, because sometimes, some people don't let it out and kind of absorb it more over time.
Yeah.
And eventually it comes out, it can come out the wrong way.
Exactly.
Because they're not like you, where they can release it immediately.
Because I think if you can release it, like, you can kind of get past it. But if you hold it, it attacks your physical health as well, and your emotional stability, where people snap. And I think it's good to Excuse me, I'm a little stuffed up today. I think it's true to stay within your emotions. If that's what you feel, then let them out. You just have to kind of figure out how to do it where it's not going to kind of affect you in a negative light. Of course, when you let them out, it doesn't mean that something's going to heal right away, but that's a start. So, in this psychiatrist or I want to make sure I got this right. A therapist and clinical psychologist. Okay, I just was right. I just want to make sure, giving people their titles. People work hard for these titles. But I think it's still important to, so she suggests her clients set a time limit to feel their emotions every single day. Every 15 minutes can help to process your emotions. So she's saying, well, I guess not for people like me who express their emotions, but when people find it difficult to express their emotions, to just allow yourself 15 minutes or the time, whatever you need to take to just feel your emotions. And when you feel your emotions, it doesn't mean that they're always negative emotions.
Right. Just true.
Just, the happy. Because some people feel like they can't be happy because something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or because no one else in their family is happy. Or no one else is in their life is happy. So some people don't even allow themselves to feel happy.
Right.
So, have you ever met anyone like that now?
You probably more positive people, not the gloom and doom crowd, but but you do come across those negative Neds and those sad Sallys, who are always on the negative or always in the gloom and doom. But
because people are going through stuff.
Yeah, they are. They really are. They really are.
Yeah. Number 2 on her list is to talk about it. When people bottle up challenging situations, the problems grow into horrible worries and anxiety. Another psychologist says that in therapy, it's good to talk about your troubles. However, it helps you better understand your own fears and get the valuable feedback from others who have probably experienced similar levels of distress and can give a perspective where you need it. And I think it's important to talk about it. I agree with that. Because talking about it sometimes releases it. When you hold it in, that's not a good thing because you're processing it on your own. And when you process it on your own, it might be out of whack. It might not even make sense. It might be, you talking about doom and gloom, you might be doing it to yourself. You know what I mean? So when you talk about it, and you can also hear the words coming out of your mouth, and it might not sound as bad. But when it's in your head and it's internal, you sound horrible.
It's like reading to yourself.
Right. And sometimes when you read it out loud, you get a better understanding. And number 3 on this list is try to see past the hardship. I know that's hard for a lot of people. When you're in crisis, it's hard to see any upside. But some distance, you may be able to see the situation in a different light. Sometimes you have to distance yourself from it. So they give this example here. You lost your job. Well, you've lost some in the past and always landed on your feet. You had to fight with your spouse. Well, historically, you tend to bounce back. You had a panic attack. Most of your life hasn't included panic, so we can assume most of your future won't as well. Some lost jobs lead to better jobs. Some broken relationships lead to relationships that are a better fit. Some panic leads to finally getting the help you need. So that's really trying to do a spin. And as a life coach, as a human being, I think it's important to do that and let people see, what's really, the upside of things. Because sometimes you don't want to see the upside of things. You just want to wallow in whatever you're going through. But that's not giving you a chance to push through because you're staying right in that thing. Number 4 is a big one that I always suggest as well. Prioritize self-care. Darryl, you have a problem with self-care. I'm going to put it on. Just put your business right on out there. You do.
You run that back again.
Because you don't take care like you should.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, focus on you. Nobody else. Focus on you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Because I definitely am. I tend to focus on the bigger picture, or what I deem the bigger picture. But and there are people out there that are like me, and I'm glad you put that out there, that need to focus on themselves a little bit more, or much more than they do. Because if you're not happy, you can't make anybody else happy. If you're not healthy, how can you make anybody, how can you help anybody else in their health areas or whatever it is? So I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah, but you got to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
I know you're far away. I hope they can hear you because I think it's important for
They
them
better be able to hear me. I'm right here.
But yeah, but
kicking.
you're side kicking.
Yeah.
You're away from the mic, so hopefully they'll be able to hear you. But self-care is absolutely necessary to survive tough situations. You won't be able to help others, as you stated, if you are, dealing with your own issues or dealing with your own lack of self-care. While you might not have time for the usual healthy habits, you can still take good care of yourself. For instance, if you can't prepare a nutritious meal, keep a protein bar in your bag, this therapist says. If you can't go to the gym for an hour, take a 10 to 15 minute walk around the block. Relieve some tension and clear the cobwebs in your mind. I think that's very important.
Man.
That's why you walk. Is that why you walk all over? Is that why you walk? Because you're like, I just want to walk.
I'm on the, yeah, absolutely. Because it's just like if you could take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yep. Just to do something, just to really take care of yourself. And people are like, oh, well, that doesn't work, but it does. It does. 10 minutes of meditating or a 20-minute power nap also helps, this therapist says. Remember that stressful situations, it's not a sprint. It's more like a marathon, and we talk about that a lot. So sometimes you just got to be healthy and take care of yourself, and that's pushing through the hard times because you got to still be here at the end of the day. We want you to be here. Number 5 is consider if you're experiencing consider if you are experiencing a catastrophic or an inconvenience. Sometimes we magnify problems and turning a fixable concern into a calamity. Like we make a mountain out of a molehill, what they're saying. So you just have to really think about the issue, and if it's as big as you think it is, and it's not about telling someone, oh, well, that's not a big problem, or people have dealt with that, because I think that's a no-no. You shouldn't tell someone how big their problem is to them because it's them.
Right, and they're in it. They're feeling it. They're absorbing it.
Right. Number 6 is practice. I have these things in my mouth. I got to rewind. Practice acceptance. Let go of what you cannot control. That's a problem for a lot of people. Start to make a list of everything you don't have control over. These are the things that can stop you from worrying. Because if you don't have control over it, and you're worrying yourself into the grave, then what? During a moment of meditation or prayer, visualize handing those items over to a higher power, which is God, and letting them go. Then focus on what you can control, like your self-care, your words, your actions, and your decisions. Try to make better decisions to avoid some of the situations that you've put yourself in. Number 7, big one, ask for help. Help.
Talked about it.
Somebody might need to throw you a lifeline. That SOS is important. You might assume that you can or should handle this difficult time on your own. Many people think that, but interesting enough, you need to talk to other people. When you relinquish your control and ask for help, you will receive grace. Like you really will. If you just say, hey, I need help. It's important to do that. And I know a lot of people's pride will not allow them to ask for help. But seeking support from your loved ones also strengthens the relationships that you have with those loved ones, because now you're sharing, you're vulnerable. They see a different side of you. And I think that it's important to do that. What do you think about sharing?
In some cases,
you can't share with everybody.
You got to know who you're sharing with. Loose lips sink ships. You know what I'm saying? But you definitely can find people who have a loyalty and a confidence about themselves, and they're confident. That can keep and hold water, like we talked about. So, You definitely want to be able to do that.
Right. And your support may come in the form of family, friends, co-workers, doctors, therapists, support groups, God, your spouse, your friendships. It's important. Like friendships. And when I say friends, be careful who you tell, because they could be associates and you're labeling them as friends. But it's somebody that you can trust. And even if you don't know if you can trust them, if you just feel like you just need to release it, then just do that. Because at the end of the day, no one else can judge you. And they could, but it doesn't matter because they're not the final judge. Number 8 is limit time with toxic people. That's a huge one. These are individuals who are not supportive or reliable and don't have your best interests at heart. You ever talk to somebody and you feel like they're judging you, or they're not listening to you, or they're being critical of you? You feel drained and depleted. You ever be with around somebody and you just feel drained and
sticking a straw in you and taking large gulps.
Yeah. Because they all, they constantly make you feel bad all the time, Sometimes the truth is hard to hear. So you got to remember and see patterns of people who are toxic, because just because someone's getting on your nerves at the moment, it doesn't mean that they're toxic. But if it's a constant ongoing thing, every time you see them, every time you're around them, and you feel bad about yourself, because some people, I've had to let go of family members that were toxic. And I don't regret it. If you feel worse every time you're around them and there's no light, then you have to process that yourself and figure out what you need to do. Number 9 is stay grounded in the present. Practice mindfulness techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, yoga. They're all excellent for mind and body when it comes to going through crisis, because it's mind, body, and spirit. That mind, body, and soul when you're going through something, because it's easy to snap. And then calling into your crisis. Far too often we don't define our lives. We burn out because we're more anxious and depressed and have less energy to focus and to find effective solutions, because we're so much talking about the problem that we're not trying to come up with solutions to fix the problem. Because you're at a point where you can't believe it happened, and all you're focusing on is what happened, what's happening and what's going on. Yep. But you have to observe, and that's number 11 too. Observe this situation as an outsider. Take a crisis break and relax and kind of look at it as if it's not you, and maybe try to figure out what you would do in that case. And number 12, and these are some of the things that I love this list with the therapist, because these are some of the things that I try to practice, but I try to tell other people too through post or through. So this fell in line with, I'm not going to give you anything that I wouldn't do myself. And I think it's important to give you something that I would give me, or that I would do, because you need to push through, because we need you here. Number 12, take action. Just do something about it. Avoid situations that only add to the anxiety, talking about, well, what if, or, all of that stuff, or maybe not. Just take action and kind of empower yourself through the situation. Number 13 is remember that you are not your difficult time. That's a good one. You are not your problems or your crisis. You are not your divorce, not your illness, not your trauma, or your bank account. Your true self is that deeper entity within that is perfectly whole and well, no matter what you are experiencing. That's deep.
That's real deep.
You are not your problems or your crisis. You are not your divorce, your illness, your trauma, or your bank account. Your true self is that deeper entity within that is perfectly whole and well, no matter what you are experiencing. That's the quote. So even if it sounds a little weird, that's the exact quote. Number 14. Remember, and this is the last one on this therapist list. Remember that everyone heals differently. That's a good one. She says here, I encourage children and adults to remind others that this is their journey and no one should be clock watching. Wow. Everyone feels in different ways and everyone heals in different ways. I love that. I love that. Everyone feels in different ways and everyone heals in different ways. Tough times could be very, overwhelming and exhausting, but there are so many things that you can do to kind of soften your blow. And if you don't know what to do, reach back into yourself or talk to people. I think it's so important to talk to people, just to let people know what they're going through. So that is that list. 14. Yeah, that was a good list. 14 ways to get through the tough times. So I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. Thank you for shining with me, Kendall Anise. If you're here for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the show and don't forget to tell your friends and family about Shine. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. So I just I read a therapist list and I thought that they were awesome. And I'm not going to give you again anything that I wouldn't do myself or I wouldn't give to my coaching clients, to my friends, to my family, or you even, Darryl. And I think it's important to push through.
Yeah, it is.
And it's hard to push through. When you're going through something, it really is difficult to push through depending on the magnitude. And again, no one else can tell you how deep your issue or problem is. And no one else can tell somebody really how to come out of it. You can give it tips and advice. Yeah. But ultimately, that person has to have the will to come out of it and learn from it.
Learn from it.
Absolutely.
What is it teaching you? What are you getting from it?
Absolutely.
What is the understanding that you're getting from
Absolutely.
it? What can you do differently next time if it's something that you caused? Or is it something,
how did I get here?
Right, yeah. How did I get here? Or I've been here before. What didn't I get the first time? Or, any of those things. So definitely take those lessons.
Right. So my tips, I have 10 tips that I would give you. If you were talking to Kendall Anise, if I was your life coach, or if you catch me on, all social media platforms, I talk about these types of things all the time, but just really pushing through and just being resilient. I think that a lot of people are more resilient than they think. They're stronger than they think. And I think if you look back over your life and your past, you'll see all the times that you were resilient and all the times before that you thought that you couldn't push through.
Right.
And you pushed through. And now you're looking at it in the rear view like, dang, that was nothing. Yeah. But when you were in it, it was everything. Definitely. Like you didn't think that you would make it through. So sometimes you do have to look towards your future, even if your present is just a hot mess. But my tips for pushing through is, number one is focus on your blessings and not your burdens. I think it's important to focus on, even if something is wrong, you still got to try to find the blessings in your life. Instead of the complaints, like really try to focus on, okay, I know I'm in this mess, but I'm still blessed, bare minimum to be alive. I'm still blessed that I can look at this person or that person. I'm happy that I'm not living under a subway or under a bridge. You got to still find your blessing. Number 2 on my list is to practice gratitude. Just think every day what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for, and that 1 and 2, it is almost one and the same, but different. Because if you write down, what you're grateful for and you really practice throughout your day gratitude, you'll forget for a moment that you're going through something, and it's not to trick your mind, but if you focus more on that, you might figure out a way to deal with the issues or problems. And some problems, I'm not even trying to minimize it. Some problems are deep, y'all. Some problems are really, really deep. To everybody that would look, it's deep. And some problems, if they're deep to you, then they're deep. It just depends on how you look at them. Number 3 on my list is to work on yourself. Go to school, go back to school. Discover a new hobby, be creative, eat healthily, eat those healthy foods. Exercise, pray, meditate, yoga, seminars, workshops. Stimulate your mind, work on yourself, work on being better, work on just you. Get back to the basics and try to get to the essentials in life. And that will help take your mind off of what you're going through. And that will, believe it or not, help you push through. Number 4 on my list is do for others. Be a blessing. Sometimes when you're doing for others, you forget the crap that you're going through, you know, and I think that it gives you another perspective when you take it off of you for a moment. Number 5, cry and pray and cry.
Yes,
You know, I'm not above either one of them. You know, I think it's important to cry and pray. Have you ever cried and prayed at the same time?
Absolutely.
I think it's important. And number 6 is write it down. Write down your feelings. Write down what you're going through. Turn them into a poem, a song, a book, a story, you know, a testimony.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Right.
Do a Taylor Swift.
Right. Write down. Write down your life. I think it's important to do that. And somebody else might read it or see it, or it might help someone else. And that goes into number 7 on my list. Share your story. Don't hold it in.
Yeah. Share that testimony.
What you think about that?
That's good. Absolutely. You should. You need to. I mean, you know, be transparent. You know, somebody's going to need what you carry and what you've been through. You know, I often say, why did we survive things that other people died from?
I was talking to, when I was in Atlanta last week, I was talking to a
You was in
girlfriend.
Atlanta last week?
You know I was in Atlanta.
Did you tell me did you ask permission? Could you go? You went to Atlanta last week and didn't take me with you. You went down there and was doing what?
Hey, I had work to do.
Oh, okay. Let you slide. There ain't gonna be too many of them getting wheezed.
I was speaking to a girlfriend last week, and she said that she didn't want to put her business on Facebook in it because it was private. And she said, someone said, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said, one of her friends said, that's your story. That's not your business. That's your story. And it was said something like that, which made it a whole different thing, you know, because when you're sharing your story really isn't for you. Your story is your testimony to share with others. Number 8 on my list is to love more. That will help you push through.
Yes, Lord.
Why are you looking at me like that?
You said love through.
And number 9 is volunteer with the sick or elderly.
Yes.
You know, somebody that's been here, somebody that's going through some things. And I'm not saying if you're not going through sickness or death, then you're not dealing with something, because we know housing issues, that's a mess. Financial issues, that's a lot. You know, on top of health challenges or family drama or problems or, you know, all of that. You know, that's a lot. Just imagine if you're dealing with all of it at one time. That's a whole lot to deal with. And some people can't really deal. It's just like I said, one more thing. That's how people pop off. That's how people snap. That's later, like, if one more thing happens, you know, if one more thing, that's why it's important to keep that mental illness healthy. I mean, that mental health healthy. Mental wellness is important. Emotional stability, emotional intelligence is important. It really, really, really is. And number 10 on my list is to try to stay positive. Sounds simple, right?
It's a war.
Stay
to stay
positive. And sometimes it is a war to stay positive when everything around you is negative. It's hard to do. But like you said, you have to learn from the difficult times. John Maxwell said, facing difficulties is inevitable. Learning from them is optional.
That's good. That's my guy, too.
That's a little extra life note for you. Facing difficulties is inevitable. Learning from them is optional. So whatever you're going through, you can decide whether you take it as a learning tool to maybe not make the same mistake or to go through life differently. So I think it's important to really see and feel what you're going through and really learn from it. It's important. It's easier getting through a difficult time when you know the chances of it happening again are slim to none. Meaning, if something happens, you're like, I'm never going through that. Or if it's under my control, over my control, under my control, around my control, right. I'm not going to let that thing within my control, all of that you're not going to let that happen. And again, I just want to stress the fact that if you can't control it, we're talking about within my control, around my control, all of that. But if you cannot control it, if it's out of your control, then what?
Control you.
Right. You can't. Right. You can control you and control your thoughts, but you can't control the situation. So if you're focusing on and wasting your time and energy on things you can't control, you're making the situation seem even more bleak than it actually is, because you're focusing on all the negativity around whatever. And be kind to yourself. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. Just because you're going through something, or just because forgive yourself. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of people, you guys out there, I'm included, Darryl's included, we've all made silly mistakes. Yeah. We've all held guilt, and you got to be kind to yourself, and you got to forgive yourself. Learn from it. Just do something that gets your mind and body engaged at a higher level, and stop wallowing in the self-pity. Deal with it, accept it, own the fact that it happened, and try your best to really get past it. Anything you want to tell the people? We're coming to an end. That was quick.
Trust God. Trust God. That's it. Trust God. And sometimes you don't understand. Sometimes you don't know why. Because his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. But just know that in the end, he has your best interest at heart. And through it all, you will make it, survive, thrive. And just know that. And just know that he's greater than your situation and your circumstance.
I don't think I can say anything else after that.
That's it. Can I pass the plate now?
You can pass the plate. Like, what else can I say after that? Trust God.
Trust God.
And you have to let go. And sometimes it's above your understanding.
Yes.
It's above your pay grade.
It definitely
like
is.
You don't understand how you're going to come out of that, but you will come out of that. And certain things, yes, I know certain things are permanent that happens, like death. But I pray that you get an understanding of that. And I pray that you're soothed and comforted. If you are sick, I pray that there's healing for you. If you're going through financial struggles, I pray that your financial breakthrough is coming. If you are in feud, where they say nobody wins when the family is feuding, that's what Jay-Z says. I pray that the family comes to a level of peace and understanding, whatever you're going through. I mean, I know that people are going through the struggle, and the struggle is real. So don't minimize someone else's struggle, and just pray for them, silently pray for them, pray with them, or just, just put it. See, this is the thing, and we don't even have a lot of time, but I just want to say this real quick. You never know what somebody is going through. And when somebody responds to you a certain way and you think it's a negative way or mean way, you never know what people are going through. Just say a prayer for them, and just be the bigger person and take the high road. But I pray everybody pushes through whatever they're going through. That is the show. That's it. That's all, folks. I love you and I mean it. I'll see you next Wednesday. Anything you want to say?
Nope. I'm the sidekick. I keep telling you I'm the sidekick.
God bless you. Until next week. Thank you for tuning in to Shine. Shine airs live every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information about Shine and Kendall Lanise, visit livingtruelivingyou.com. Remember, it's never too late to remix your life.